8 days before he signed with you guys.
I think we've had enough conversations about that. Thank you.
So, as Jenna Lane, who was asking the question there, our Buccaneers reporter joins us here. Bruce Arians obviously doesn't want to talk about it. What is the latest about Antonio Brown's incident and the NFL's investigation, Jenna?
Well, Greeny, it really is a shame that Arians didn't want to answer any more questions, because I would have followed up with what type of support system is in place for a player who may very well be still struggling with anger management issues. Keep in mind, this incident happened after undergoing 13 weeks of court-ordered anger management training. Now, as far as the incident itself, I am told by the Hollywood Oaks Neighborhood Association that the issue is resolved, but it's not resolved yet with the league. They weren't aware of this prior to Brown signing with the Bucs, and so they're looking into this. They're investigating it. I've spoken to the league multiple times this week. They do not have a timetable set as to when they'll come up with some sort of resolution on this, and I also don't have an update as far as whether or not Brown could be found in violation of his probation. Keep in mind, the standard of proof is much lower when it comes to probation violations. They only need about a 50% likelihood that an event occurred, and obviously a police report was filed. They simply did not arrest him, but they only need a low standard of proof to discern whether or not he could be found in violation.
So Arians obviously doesn't feel like talking about it, but what are you hearing from other players on the team and other personnel just about the way AB has been around the team since he joined them?
I've heard only positive things about Brown, and in my interactions with him, they've been pretty cordial. He wasn't made available this week. That's one of the drawbacks of COVID-19. We couldn't go to his locker this week, so we could only rely on who the team made available. But wide receivers coach Kevin Garver told me he has done everything that I've asked him to do. Teammates have praised his work ethic. Cam Brate spoke about the fact that in every practice, he just doesn't take plays off. He is always hustling. And there are guys on this team that look up to him, that really want to be like him on the field. I can also say this, I know that his relationship with Brady, he looks up to Brady so much, and I know he really values the opportunity to keep playing with him. He's going to do whatever it takes to not let Brady down.
All right, Jenna Lane, outstanding work down there. Thank you very much. We'll check in with you if there's anything further before the game Monday night. Meanwhile, let's continue to look ahead to this Sunday's games. Rob Ninkovich, we've got Derrick Henry against the Ravens. He's going more or less 100 yards rushing for Henry.
I'm going less. If you are the Ravens and you look back at last year's playoff loss, you are probably sick to your stomach watching Henry run all over you, jump passes for touchdowns. So coming into this game, I can guarantee that they have a picture on a bulletin board with him circled. We must stop this man. He's a go-to guy. They have to slow him down. If they do not slow him down, they will lose.
Bart, next up, how about Dalvin Cook, more or less 100 yards rushing against the Cowboys?
I think we should have jumped that up to 200. I think a wet paper bag has a better chance stopping a Mack truck than the Dallas Cowboys have to stop Dalvin Cook. He's the best running back in the game right now, Greeny.
Bartholomew came to play today. Ryan Clark, coming to you, more or less 300 passing yards for Aaron Rodgers against the Indianapolis Colts.
It's going to be less. And listen, Darius Leonard is all upset at Aaron Rodgers right now, so you know that he'll play a great game. He's going to be a guy that's going to be tasked with stopping Aaron Jones, both in the run game and pass game. And Matt Eberflus, the defense coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts, understands how important Devontae Adams is. They can roll coverage to him. They can play cover two, the force shorter throws, and allow that defense to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And you can't forget about the Indianapolis Colts run game against the defense of the Green Bay Packers. That's the way to keep the ball away from Aaron Rodgers and that offense.
All right, I want to stop down on this game a little bit because there's a lot of it that interests me. And Diana, I want to start with you. Devontae Adams is such a critical piece of the offense for Green Bay, and he's banged up. What do we know about his status?
Yeah, he is a significant piece. We know that he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. So on Wednesday, he was limited at practice, and yesterday he didn't practice at all. Today we should find out a little bit more. But, you know, the Packers have been really conservative with their players this season in terms of injury. And what I mean by that is if the player is right on the borderline, they tend to keep that player back. Now, Adams did tell the media that he feels good, that the ankle does feel good, but this could come down to a game time decision on Sunday. But I think for those fantasy football fans out there, they should be very cautious here.
All right, so that's obviously critical for them. But RC, let's look at the Packers for a minute here, because people are talking about them like they're right back where they need to be. This is a team that has won back-to-back games against the very badly banged-up San Francisco 49ers and then just barely beat Jacksonville a week ago. As you watch Green Bay play right now, do they look like a team amongst the NFC powerhouses that could make a deep run to the Super Bowl this year?
No, to me, the Green Bay Packers are and also ran. We will remember them. We would think that they were a good team. We'll talk about them in the offseason to see what they can do to take that next step. But this team doesn't win the championship. This team doesn't win the Super Bowl. And when you watch them play defense, now they're missing some of their corners. They still continue to get ran through, as we saw with the Jacksonville Jaguars and James Robinson. And they're so heavily reliant on Devontae Adams to make plays offensively. I just don't believe that this team has enough. And you talked about it in the offseason, Greeny. They need to do more. They need to add more. Bart, everyone came on this show and said, you know what, they have to get another piece before the trade deadline, and they did nothing. They thought it was enough. They thought they had arrived. They felt like, you know what, with the people in the locker room, we can win, and they're wrong. And sometimes when you're wrong, you waste a great career of one of the all-time great quarterbacks in this league. And that's what we're watching with the Green Bay Packers. They're good enough to be talked about. They'll be good enough to be a factor, but they'll be sitting at home watching the Super Bowl with us because they won't have what it takes to make it there.
I'm so glad you said that because I think it is exactly right. To quote the great Danny Green, the Packers are who we thought they were. They were someone who needed to add someone in the draft to help, and they didn't. And they needed to add someone at the trade deadline, and they didn't. And so they will be right where they were last year. Good enough for Aaron Rodgers to take them into the playoffs, but not good enough to win it. And if it's me, I'm frustrated with that. Bart, what do you think?
Well, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. And the problem was, it wasn't that they needed another receiver. We were fine to live with that because it looked like Lazard was becoming a great number two. But the fact that they can't stop the run, they had opportunity to make a trade for Avery Williamson. The Pittsburgh Steelers thought that they needed somebody at that position. They decided not to. And then what's going to happen is where you just take the San Francisco 49ers and their dominant run game away last year and how they dominated the Packers in the playoffs, and you just insert the Saints or you just insert the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're going to have the same issues. The fact that Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the bench and on the sideline most of the game trying to wait to get on the field to try and make a play.
What do you think, Rob Ninkovich?
I disagree. I think that they could right the ship. They're the 10th ranked run-stopping defense at this point. So there's 22 teams that are worse at stopping the run. They're in the top 10. They are at 10. So if they could get a couple pieces back and get healthy, they can protect Aaron Rodgers. When you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance. So if you have a chance every single year, you're going to we're all talking about Seattle, and they're the 32nd ranked defense. So if you can get the defense, they're in the middle of the pack right now. If they could jump maybe a few teams, 5 teams, and get into the playoffs and make a run, I think that they have a chance because of Aaron Rodgers.
Diana, final thought. What are you seeing?
I appreciate what Rob is saying in that comparison to Seattle, but look at what Russell Wilson has in terms